we're using YouTube Live, and I'm although I'm pretty good at now. I've got a 3-device station plus a phone as a backup here, so we're set. Okay, so we are live here for Applied Digital Skills Week. This is Chris Bell with EdTechTeam. We're excited to be joined by Ivy McIntyre from Google with the Grow with Google team, and then also a number of teachers who we'll introduce in just a moment. So all of our resources, because YouTube Live doesn't like us to post resource links into the chat, we'll be having slides that show those resources. So take a picture of that with your phone, do anything you want to, however you need to screenshot that. The resources, which is this slide deck, is located at edtech.team/APSKI October 10th. So APSKI OCT 10. And that will bring you to this open slide deck that we have right here. So one of the things that I need to do is I need to open up our Google form so that everyone can submit things as we go. So as we're getting started, I'd like to introduce myself, and then I'll go around and have everyone kind of share who they are, what they do, and then we'll dive into some of our content. We're excited to be talking about applied digital skills this week in general, because there's just so many different things that we've got going on in terms of blog posts and challenges and lots of exciting things. So we are certainly excited to have anyone join us, as well as the teachers join us. So my name is Chris Bell, and I am with EdTechTeam, former elementary and middle school teacher. Then I became a school district administrator. Had a lot of fun doing that, and now I work for EdTechTeam, and I've been helping support the Applied Digital Skills Project, as Google is a large partner of EdTechTeam's. We provide a lot of professional development support, and we're really excited to be doing this week. On the session resources, once again, let me get to that on my own. We are going to be having you complete the form. So we'll be giving away prizes at the end of this, including some gift cards and some online courses. So make sure that you fill out the form. I'm making that form live right now. We had to turn it off because we collect lots and lots of information. We collect lots and lots of entries throughout the week on the older archives. And what I want to do is go live right now with that. So thank you for your patience. Accepting. So I am currently in Hong Kong. So there we go. Accepting responses. There we go. Okay, so I'm reporting today from Hong Kong. Oops. Currently. Sorry, that was my YouTube Live link. I am here currently in Hong Kong. So I'd love to open up the floor to introduce the team that's here. Normally I'm in California, but I happen to be on the road for travel this week. And I have with us Ivy McIntyre with the Grow with Google and Google for Education. Which team do you technically sit on, Ivy?
I am with the Applied Digital Skills team, kind of the education team.
You kind of sit in a very interesting place within the organization. You cross-functionally connect into a lot of different sections.
Definitely.
All right, and where are you located?
So I work in the Monk's Corner location, which is actually a data center, a little bit unusual. So our team works mostly out of the data center in Charleston, South Carolina.
Excellent. Well, it's great to have you here with us. I appreciate you taking the time this evening. I know it's what, 7 p.m. on the East Coast, and we've got a couple people here from the East Coast. So thank you for taking time out of your evening with family and other to be with us. We have Amanda Alford. She's a science and technology teacher in Indiana. Welcome.
Thank you. So I have been teaching, this is going on my 11th year of teaching. I've been teaching applied digital skills for 1 full year, so this is starting my 2nd year. But I also teach 7th grade science in a small rural school called Switzerland County School Corporation in Beebe, Indiana.
Excellent. Well, we're glad to have you here. Amanda has been featured on a lot of different things related to applied digital skills, and it actually worked with us to write the email course on how to integrate applied digital skills into the science classroom. So great to have you here tonight. Thank you, Amanda. We don't have a Monica Willis with us right now. Hopefully she'll make it. She's going to join us. She's also in South Carolina, but we'll skip it and come back to her if she comes in. And then I have Rosalinda James. Rosalinda, go ahead and introduce yourself. She was on one of our prior webinars related to integrating it into the applied digital skills elementary classroom.
Wait, did I unmute my camera?
Yeah, you did. Good.
Okay. I'm like, it's not working. So Rosalinda Imus. So I'm from Temecula, California. I am currently a 4th grade teacher, and I've been using applied digital skills for the beginning of the year, but also I ended my last school year using it as well. And I've been a teacher for 13 years. And this is actually my 13th year, and I'm excited to be using applied digital skills in my classroom.
Excellent. And then I had to put up this for Micah. So Micah, we have Micah Shippey, PhD, history teacher out of New York. I'll let you introduce yourself and tell the story behind this Starbucks cup.
And, hi, I'm Micah. One of my awkward pleasures is baristas misspelling my name, so I take lots of pictures. Probably have 100 pictures of my name misspelled, but not to be proud, I suppose. So this is year 19, teaching middle school social studies for me. I spent 18 years teaching 7th grade, and this year has been a year of changes. My administrator placed me in 8th grade, so I'm teaching a brand new content, and I've honestly found the applied digital skills to be very good to help me in a new curriculum, which is completely foreign to me, to provide me with kind of a framework for activities so I can focus on the content and let the applied digital skills drive meaningful lessons.
Excellent. All right. Well, welcome, Micah. Welcome to everybody. Thank you for, once again, I appreciate you taking your time out of your evenings and busy schedules. Never enough time for a teacher, as we all know. What I'd love to do is just take a moment. Let me go back to this and remind everyone that our session resources, if you just joined us, are located at the URL up above. That'll get you to this slide deck, which will also allow you to submit to the form to win some prizes at the end of this webinar. So looks like we have a lot of great people joining us from all over: Chattanooga, Tennessee, Anaheim, California, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So we've got a variety of people joining us, and we're excited to have everyone here. And once again, thank you to everyone who's taken the time out of their day to learn a little bit to bring this to your classroom. So I'm going to switch back to Ivy. So we have Ivy's screen up there. Ivy, I just have some questions for you. So how long have you worked with Google? I guess that's a great place to start there.
Yeah, I started out, actually, I taught history at the college level for a couple of years, and then joined the team as a writer about 3 years ago. I worked as a contractor and wrote for applied digital skills for 2 years. And then I've been a full-time Googler only since July. So I'm still what they call a noogler. But I wasn't completely new to the team and to the applied digital skills team in July, but only been a full-timer since then. So.
Okay, excellent. So only there since July. What excites you the most about working at Google?
Oh, there's so much that's exciting about working with Google. But I think the top thing is probably just the people. You're around lots and lots of people who really are into education. That's not just on the education team, but all of the people that I work with are just great, inquiring minds. They want to keep learning, and they're just really friendly people. I've noticed that, anytime that I'm having a bad day or I come in because traffic was bad, it's not long before I have a smile on my face because everybody's friendly and smiling back, and it just gets you out of the funk that you might have been in when you come in. So it's a really positive atmosphere, and people are always willing to help whenever you might need it.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So what's something you've learned while working at Google?
When I started working at Google, that it might be surprising, but especially going into applied digital skills, where I was going to be teaching people how to use these tools. But I had actually barely worked in a Google Doc before. So since then, I've learned a lot of the ins and outs of Google Docs and Sheets and slides and forms and everything else. I'm probably most proud of my increased knowledge of spreadsheets. Those were really intimidating to me when I first started at Google, but once you start having to teach somebody this stuff, you know, you learn it yourself like the back of your hand. So that was exciting. And I've also learned a few things about coding since I started working at Google, which is exciting. It's amazing. I work around people all day who work with coding because I work at the data center. And so we're always like, I don't know what you do. And they say, well, I have no idea what you do. I say, okay, well, we'll stay in your spots. But I have picked up some of it. It's really empowering to pick up a new skill like that.
That's fantastic. Well, I mean, as we all know, you really have to be a lifelong learner these days. And that's really what we're instilling in our students. So to that end, so you came from academics or academia, then became a Googler. So how do you see the nature of work changing, or how has it changed since you entered the workforce, if you would, even in academia? How's it changing?
I think like when I started college and sort of started entering the workforce, we were really just starting to use email. And so technology was not anything like it is today. People didn't really use it a whole lot. Like some professors didn't send any emails at all. Whereas today, those technology skills, I think, are just taken for granted, both, you know, in the school a lot of times, but definitely in the workplace. And so I feel like also because of that, because it's changed so rapidly, that a lot of young people and students have this kind of intuition for technology. Like they can pull up an app and kind of figure out what to do with it and what they might be able to do with it in ways that older adults sometimes do not, who didn't grow up with technology or the internet. So students have an easier time like operating a mouse or navigating an app or a smartphone or whatever, but they often don't know how to do those things very well. So you can come down to kind of basic skills about emails, or, you know, they know how to write an email. They can figure out how to do it. But they don't know how to write an email that's kind of short and to the point that doesn't sound like a text message, you know? So, there've been a lot of rapid changes with technology that everyone is expected to know these days, but there's still kind of a gap in how to navigate that technology and what to do with it and how to use it more appropriately, I guess.
Well, see, we won't need to worry about writing emails anymore because the AI is doing it for us.
That's true. It's making it easier and less involved with it. But.
I keep looking at Spark Compose going, okay, can you write a little bit more, a little bit more? Can it go further? I don't want to write the emails.
Use it like the text message challenges, you know, where you just keep choosing the word on the suggested text message and then see what kind of crazy stuff comes up.
That's true. That's true.
One day it'll be accurate.
I'm going to put it to the panel right now, since we're having a conversation about how, you know, what Ivy has seen. You know, what have you seen changing in your role as a teacher related to technology since you started in the classroom? Feel free to jump in, any of you.
I would have to agree with Ivy. Oh, I'm sorry, Ro. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to agree with Ivy that, you know, one of the advantages that I'm finding with students is that they don't have any fear of approaching and making the same kind of fear that adults have. They have a little bit more of a reckless abandon to dive in, try something new than the average adult. One of the things I liked about the applied digital skills is the scripting of skill set that adults can do. I was working with a Spanish teacher today with 10 years of experience, and I sent her the research topic, digital skills. She went through the first module. I was like, wow, I can't believe you can put a minus sign in the search on a Google search. She's pretty stoked about that. I think that's just an example of how this makes the content more accessible.
Excellent. What about you, Ro? You wanted to jump in there?
Yeah, I was gonna say, piggyback off of what Ivy said about how they know how to use it, but they don't know how to use it well. I think especially teaching, upper elementary for kids who we like to say have more exposure to devices or, all these digital components, it's interesting when you get them into the classroom and they really don't know how to use it well. They don't know the purpose or the function of that tool or device. And like for us, we really do try to focus on digital citizenship, because no, you can't just take a picture of someone in the classroom just because you have your cell phone, or what are you using this Google Doc for? How do you research? So all these little things that sometimes we take for granted because they grew up with iPads or tablets that we figure that they know how to do, but they really don't. So that's definitely something we try to work on in the classroom.
Excellent. What about you, Amanda?
I would agree with everybody what they were saying, especially since, this is the digital age. So, most of my students were born after the iPhone. So that's all they know are the apps and using digital. When my daughter was 3 years old, she couldn't read, but she could navigate through YouTube like it was her job. Like she didn't need to know how to read. And that's how these students are. And going off of, they think they know how to use the apps and the tools correctly, but they really don't know deeper. One unit that I really like that came out this year is organize your Google Drive. Mm-hmm. And so when my students come to me, they're like, oh, I've used Google Drive before. I know how to use Google Drive. I know. And so that's what we started off with. And going through, they're like, I didn't realize you could do that. I didn't realize you could color code. I didn't realize, putting it in different orders. And I'm like, I thought you knew how to use Google Drive. And they're like, well, we know how to open it. And so really digging deeper, what Micah and Ro was saying about teaching them how it can be functional, not just there it is, as a storage unit, but really how can it be used to benefit, communicate, organize, and things such as that.
Yeah, I'll answer my own question. Even though I'm not in the classroom anymore, I think back to when I was in the classroom, how rapidly things were advancing. And to echo Ivy's comment, my students came to me with a lot of varying technology skills because of the fact that, they've grown up with tech, they've grown up with access, or depending on, some of the students had access, some of them didn't. But they had some form of access to information, and they were coming into my classroom with, a variety of skill sets, but there was a common denominator that was YouTube. And they were learning through YouTube. So good, bad, or otherwise, they're learning through that process, which is why I like the Applied Digital Skills curriculum, because everything is anchored to video. And that's how I'm learning most of the time. If I need to figure something out, I'm going to YouTube to figure it out. And if I'm going to try to ask my students, or even ask my own, I have a 7 and a 9-year-old. They live on YouTube. They would live on it all day long if they could. And they're learning all day long. They made Harry Potter, sweaters. They figured out how to make these things out of felt, and they're watching videos, and then they're trying to create their own videos. So then we start connecting those types of projects into something that's real and purposeful. Especially when we look at applied digital skills, it's an awesome opportunity to really start to amplify their learning, but also amplify their voice. We look at some of those projects. Plan an event. I'm like, when I introduce that topic to teachers, I say, well, what could you do to unleash students on planning an event at your school? Because it's always planned by the PTA. It's always planned by, other organizations, because we want to control the experience. But this is a real tremendous opportunity to allow students to activate their own learning. Let's see. We've had some great comments in here. Let's see. Jeanette, organization for middle school has been so hard, and no time committed to helping them. I know these, and what's nice about this, when you to Amanda's comment, the ability to use a lesson such as organizing files in Drive to then connect into skill sets that those students will need throughout their academic career, and as well as their work career. It's a perfect natural fit. So welcome to everyone that's joined us late. What questions does anyone have for Ivy on our panel or in the chat?
Oh, I have a question.
Yes.
I know that the curriculum was designed for middle and high school. Are there any thoughts of sort of creating it for upper elementary? Because right now we use it. There are certain things that you have to tweak or change, so it's a better fit for them. But do you see that in the near future?
That is something that we're talking about. We've gotten a lot of teachers actually will come in and say, you know, we're using what content we can for upper elementary, but we'd love to see it come out for younger students. And actually, you know, Applied Digital Skills is a spinoff of CS First, Computer Science First, which is a code more focus on coding, but it's for a little bit younger students. And so we kind of started with CS First, which is a little different, you know, because it is based on coding. They use Scratch, the block-based coding language, to build projects, and that worked so well that then teachers started asking for, you know, just how to use just Google products, the Google apps, like Docs and Sheets and Slides. So we kind of shifted focus for Applied Digital Skills, but now we're getting those requests again for younger students. So I think keep your eyes open. You know, hopefully in the next little while, we'll have some things that are suitable for younger audiences. And of course, send in some ideas, get them to us if you have ideas for lessons as well, because that helps us along the way.
Yeah, that's a great point. You know, when I've looked at I ran a workshop the other day, and one of the questions that I had was, okay, take a 5 minutes and look through the curriculum, and what could you, as an elementary teacher, then they were upper elementary teachers, what could you pull in immediately? And immediately it isn't always evident, but as I start to help them unpack it, I go, okay, so how could you take something like this concept and connect it directly to what you're doing? What if you're writing a resume for a historical figure, or you start to connect these things in there, because a fourth grader doesn't have a resume. Yeah, I completed third grade. I'm now in fourth grade. I have this circle of friends. I play soccer. So their resume, sure, it's small, but I can take that and spin it in a very unique way and make it, remix it, if you will. That's a phrase I use. As I've had conversations with a lot of teachers about it, is, you know, certainly some of these are way over the head of some elementary students, but at the same time, there are students that dive into things. I always think that we don't want to hold our students back just because we don't believe they can do something, because they'll often surprise us with their capability and their resourcefulness.
Yeah, Chris, I do like the fact that you can allow students to move forward. You know, for example, in the research of topic, applied digital skill, learning about a credible source, the first lesson, the second lesson is actually writing about a topic. But some students might need more time to write that topic, and others are going to blast through it. If you look at like lesson 3 and 4, the kids who blasted through the meat of my social studies content, they can start to geek out with the next lesson, learn some scripting, which is really pretty cool. So it allows for that extension and some individualized instruction.
So, anything else, Amanda, to add to that?
The only question, and I promised my students because they got all excited because I was telling them, I was like, I'm going to be on YouTube Live, guys. And they're like, that's so cool. Like, they think I'm famous now just because I'm on YouTube, even though half of them have their own YouTube channels. But they want to know, they love this. My students, they get into it. Their favorite so far, and the same last year, is Plan and Budget, because Plan and Budget really gives them those aha moments when they're looking to see how much cell phones really cost, how much a car loan really can be, planning a vacation, things like that. Like those aha moments are really what like I strive for, because that's the connection. Like that's, you know, bridging the gap between, wow, I really can start using this now. I don't have to wait till I'm an adult. But my students would like to know, they're like, we use all these Google apps. When is YouTube coming? Like they want to know, is there going to be some type of unit or curriculum around YouTube? Because they're like, you know, it's the second largest search engine in the world. Everybody is learning how to do this, how to do that. So they're like, how can we use YouTube in a curriculum unit with applied digital skills? So they wanted me to pass that along to whatever Googler I could come across next.
Absolutely. So we work with other teams, and I imagine that even when we were talking earlier about how influential YouTube has been and how interesting it is to students, I was thinking we really need to figure out something to do with YouTube. So I'd love to hear more about y'all's ideas about what kinds of activities you'd like to see around YouTube. We do have to work with a lot of restrictions. Like, we think a lot about, what's appropriate for a middle and high schooler to do, what kind of technology do they have access to? Like, they may not have access to video cameras and things like that, or even on the laptop, that function may be blocked. So we do have to take those kinds of things into consideration, but I'll definitely pass it along. I'll definitely try to, put that in there as an idea, but also would just love to get some ideas from the crowd or anyone who's listening or anybody, anytime, about, lessons you'd like to see.
Yeah, that's interesting about the YouTube, Amanda. I was looking at this different summer camps that were available in our area. And there was a number of different locations offering, become a YouTuber, targeted middle school and lower. And all of them, they were absolutely sold out. So, it's every kid does want to be a YouTuber. So you think about what are the digital skills connected to that. Certainly could provide some very interesting units. Valerie in the chat said YouTube's a great suggestion, but many districts do block it. However, I'm seeing more locations. We get out and see a lot of different schools, a lot of different places, and I'm finding it is blocked or not blocked. One thing that's nice about the applied digital skills side of it is that it's often easily filtered or the channel that puts out these videos are easily approved if you're able to provide filtered access to students. That said, it's certainly always a challenge and obviously a different conversation for another day.
Chris, can I add in just a couple things that came up before I forget?
Yeah.
So to Micah's point about extensions, that's very intentional, and about having extensions for students who are moving through units or lessons faster than others, so that everybody can work at their own pace. We love to see how teachers are using those extensions. There's still a lot of questions in our mind about, well, how are they actually getting used? So we went from having like a whole extensions library where you could just get any project or any extension for any project to kind of tailoring them a little more for each project. So now there are like 6 extensions at the end of each project. But thinking about how you might use those extensions in class, or how you might assign them or not assign them and just let your students choose or whatever is helpful for us to know too. And I think an exciting part too, because it really allows for that self-paced learning, and also for teachers to be able to come in and, really work one-on-one with students and not worry if the others have have stuff to do. And then the other thing, when you were talking about remixing, I just wanted to mention that all of our lessons have a lesson plan that's already made, just the way we kind of put the lesson together. But you can absolutely go in, make a copy of that in Google Docs, and then modify it however you'd like to do that. And same with the rubric as well. If you think other things need to be graded differently or something, all of those are totally modifiable. So even though we don't have a lot of remix things you can do with video and that kind of thing, you can always take that lesson plan and make it whatever suits your students too.
All right. So I guess the last question I have for you is if you could give just a super fast elevator pitch on what AppSki or Applied Digital Skills is for everyone. Just a quick recap, and then why is Google supporting this effort?
Yeah, so applied digital skills is, focused on project-based learning and video-based learning. So the video part of it is that all students can work at their own pace, and instructors can give one-on-one attention. So if one student's moving more slowly through the material, others are occupied and moving at a different pace, that's totally fine. So that's why we choose the video model. And then the project-based part of it is that we really feel like students learn a lot more, particularly when you're talking about digital skills, when they're actually building a useful project. So instead of having a textbook that's probably outdated, where they just copy, the text of an email into an email and then pretend to send it, or copy stuff into a document, they're actually building their own project. They get to use some of their own creativity, and then build something that they might find is useful for them at some point in time.
Excellent. Excellent. All right.
Oh, and one other thing, sorry. And we also are striving, what we really want is for those things to be easy for instructors to use too, right? So the idea is that you don't have to spend hours and hours putting together your own lesson. You can, just use ours as is and basically turn it on, look through the lesson plan and be ready to go. Or you can remix it as much as you want and change it as much as you want to really fit your class.
Yeah, I think that for a long time, teachers were asking for these kinds of resources, quick and easy turnkey activities. And like anything, teachers were going to be like, I don't like this, I don't like that, but I can take it and I can adapt it and I can modify it. And I think that's the key. I think what within each unit, like you described, breaking down those lesson plans is so helpful. I walked teachers through this on Monday, walking them through the one of the unit lesson plans, and I go, look at that. Everything is done. You know what the expectations are. You know what the outcomes are. You've got samples. You got all these things. Now you had to do is do it. Just give it a try. So, so thank you for that, Ivy. Anything else from the panel, on that topic before we transition? Ivy, you're welcome to stick around and listen to what our panelists have to say, but you're by no means have to stick around. All right, so here's a question. So I have a number of questions for our panel, and the first of which is, who's going to win the World Series? So New York's out of it, Micah. I'm sorry. LA's.
I think it's whoever catches the ball.
I figured it's always a fun question to ask. All right, Brandon, there you go with the Sox. I want to see Sox Dodgers, but that's just my take. All right, so for those of you that don't sport, we'll switch questions. So for the panelists, how have students in your classes responded to the curriculum, this school year? Knowing that there's new lessons that have come in, there's a lot of new, smaller activities that have just been added. So how are students responding to this curriculum?
I'll go ahead and start. I have had basically now 2 years, because I started last year at the beginning of the year, so I got to see how last year's group responded compared to this year's group. And it's been really neat because they're still in the same building. So the 8th graders are in the same building with the 7th graders. And so they're asking, hey, have you got to this unit yet? Wait till you get to this unit with her. It's really cool. Again, the plan and budget was the big one. They're like, wait till you see how much your cell phone costs. Like it's just those, attitudes and expectations. But what I really like, again, is like those aha moments, but also just watching them, like watching it click, watching them become empowered, the self-esteem and the confidence boosters of, it's like Ivy was saying with the spreadsheets. That's always a challenge, trying to get the right formula in, trying to get, the if-sum equation. And when they can't get it at first and they get frustrated and they go back and they retype it and it works, that instant, like, I did it. Like that instant gratification, that instant, like, look, I did it. That's me, and they're calling people over and they're like, look, I did it. It worked. I can't recreate that with a pencil. I can't recreate that with lessons that I did, 8 years ago. I never would have got that response out of a student when, they figured out a formula for acceleration. Nobody would have dropped the pencil and been like, look at that, I got it. but when they're getting the formulas in spreadsheets, when they're coding and getting their Google Map to work, just things like that, that empowerment. But then I have 18 Google ambassadors in my science class because I used all those apps in my science class. I incorporate it, and I basically teach my science class very similar to how Applied Digital Skills is set up. We have little videos for instructions, and so they can go back and kind of work at their own pace, and they, you know, have goals that we set each day. But then if a student doesn't know how to do a hyperlink, I don't have to keep walking around. I have my little Google ambassadors going, I'll show them, I got it. And they walk over and they're helping other students. And, you know, they're like, do you need any help? Do you need to know how to share? Do you need to know, you know, sharing settings, hyperlinks, how to add slides, commenting? And it's awesome because that's a self-confidence booster. Like I said, I couldn't create 10 years ago before all of this started. Even 2 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to do this, but using the Applied Digital Skills has really helped just, you know, increase that, you know, self-esteem and confidence. When you have 106 12-year-olds, that's an important accomplishment. It's really trying to help boost, I can do it, I know how to do it, and I'm going to, you know, stand up and show my friends, here, let me help you.
Yeah, that's really powerful. What about anybody else on here?
Yeah, my students have been pretty excited about it too. I'd have to echo what Amanda said. It's very empowering. I've been using YouTube a lot last year, particularly with my students, and closed captioning. You know, I love the closed captioning. It allows us to have a common vocabulary. It increases vocabulary retention. But they're used to video allowing me to have a decentralized classroom. So I can go around and help students individually where needed. And I'm finding that the Applied Digital Skills is just another strategy that's helping me to be more of a coach than a sage on the stage in my classroom. I just wrapped up a project today, actually, using the If-Then Adventure Story skill set. So I took the If-Then Adventure Story and said, rather than build an If-Then Adventure Story, we're going to build an app. So the kids were like, what are you talking about? So I had them hop into lesson 3, which shows them how to link slides, showed them how to reformat it, and basically we built apps. And it was super cool, and I've probably changed their lives today.
That's a really interesting idea. So you're basically teaching them UX and workflows in creating an app?
We used lucid charts to design workflow. We took Ellis Island and looked at what immigration inspectors would ask people coming into Ellis Island 100 years ago. Had them workflow it with lucid charts, then take that lucid chart and apply it to If-Then Adventure Story strategy, then change the page size. And these are 8th graders who have never done that.
Excellent.
And watching the videos is great.
That's a remix right there. That's awesome. Anybody else want to share?
Well, having 9-year-olds, and you start off the year, you know, you start off really basic with, you know, this is how you hold your Chromebook. This is how you log in. But I started with the If-Then Adventure Stories because that one really, not only does it help them to understand using Google Slides, but I think it gives them a nice foundation of how to share, how to access certain things like the Google Doc and then the slide. And then, so I have one group right now, and I put my kids in groups rather than doing it individually. And I have one group who's really accelerated, and they're learning to hyperlink their slides. And oh my gosh, they're just, did you see that? Did you see that? Do it again. And so you have other groups who are like, when do we get there? And I'm like, you need to finish your story first. And so it's interesting, like, to see that everybody started at the same spot. And then as they start moving throughout the curriculum, the excitement that just starts to build and build. And then, you know, in the morning, it used to be, what game are we playing for PE? What game are we playing for PE? Like, they'll ask you that 10 million times. And now I'm getting, are we going to have a chance to do our stories? Are we going to have a chance to finish our stories? So it's interesting to see, even though this group is they're totally on different on a different spectrum of skills. Everyone's coming in. Is today our AppSki day? Is today our AppSki day? Instead of, are we playing PE? Are we going, So I like to see that excitement of them learning these new tools and really understanding how to use it. So that's been fun.
Fantastic. All right, so shifting gears, what are some of the challenges that you've faced in using this curriculum with students? It's always great to talk about what are the things that we're running into, and how are we getting past them?
I can definitely answer that. So if you're not familiar with upper elementary students, attention spans are about this big. So, sometimes it's difficult to go through it and have everyone at different spots, because you will have those kids who are now, they just want to get it done because they want to be with, that other group. And so that's been a little challenging. And I think I mentioned this before in a webinar that Chris and I had a couple weeks ago, is, for example, that Google Doc in the If Then Adventure Story, that was blocked by our domain. So when the kids went to go click on it, our domain does not allow them to get any other docs or anything outside of our domain. So that was a little challenging to sit there, especially on the fly, never having done it before, to sit there and be like, okay, wait, let me access that doc. And then I shared it with those specific students through Google Classroom. So anytime that I go out and help teachers, I just let them know of that little workaround there, that if it's blocked within your domain, you have to then have access to that document or make a copy of it and then share it with the students as they need it.
Okay. Excellent. What about you, Amanda? What have you run into?
I kind of have two kind of challenges or issues, and one is going off what Rose said. I want them to go out and I want them to find and search. So we always do pick the next box office hit as one of our starters, because using the scientific method, making hypothesis, that's kind of how I introduce it. Well, then they're going through and they're learning about different movies, actors, directors, producers. And kind of what Ro was saying was trying to find websites where they can find all the information about the directors and the movie stars and the celebrities that our, district hasn't blocked, because it's, when it goes through the filter, it's under, drama or comedy or something that, our district filters. The other one, which is kind of a good issue, and kind of like what Ro was saying, I have 12-year-olds, and sometimes it's definitely like herding cats, trying to keep all their attention together. And that is when, planning budget, pick the next box office hit, they get so into it that they start digging deeper on their own. So they'll be like, do you know how many movies The Rock was in? Yes, I do. You've already told me. Now let's get back to the movie The Rock was in. And then, they're coming up going, this is the house The Rock lives in. I'm like, stop Google searching the house that The Rock lives in, and just trying, because they get so excited that they just keep digging and digging and trying to keep them kind of focused of, all right, if we can work, for this 15 minutes and this is our goal and we can accomplish this the last 5 minutes, you can look up every house that The Rock owns and show me, and I will gladly sit there while you show me every movie he's been in. But, like cell phones, trying to find the information for them that our school will allow, but then them looking up at 20 different cell phones and trying to just keep them focused because they get so excited. And so it's kind of a good issue or challenge. They get so involved and so into it, you kind of have to rein them back and be like, all right, you can have, time at the end of class right now. I need you to focus on this one topic for me.
That's awesome. Okay. Micah, anything you want to share?
Yeah, I'm on year 19 as a history teacher. And teaching budgeting and teaching resume writing has never been anything that I've ever done. But what I have always done is taught the economic influences on history. Budgeting is a fit. I've always taught politicians' background as they became president. What's their resume, if you will. So there's ways to kind of hack the process and say, well, this is designed for an economics class, or this is designed for a storytelling class. Not necessarily. The skills that are taught there, I think of us can think about a different way of approaching it. It's really possible.
All right. Let me transition to my next question. How do you find time in your day or week to fit this in? That's a question I get every single time when I talk to teachers about this. So I think it's worthwhile to address this. Obviously we can talk about remixing and building it in, but how are you building in the time for this?
All right, I'll go ahead and start. I have a little bit different of an experience in mind, and that is I actually have an entire class devoted to just applied digital skills. We call it Google class, and it's a rotation class. So I teach it every semester, and I have a group of 7th graders that stay with me the entire semester. And so we can get through many units, but what we do is I talk to the other teachers on my 7th grade team. So If Then Adventures, my 7th grade language arts teacher, who's also, uses all of our Google apps and loves using the Google slides with the If Then Adventures, I will do If Then Adventures right before she introduces it in her language arts class to kind of help get that flow. So then, those kids again are, kind of doing little Google ambassadors, in language arts going, oh, we learned about this, we can help. And then building off of that. But then, like I said, I teach my science class. I completely remixed the entire way I teach and made it more modified to the actual applied digital skills curriculum in my science class. And they have loved that. They love having the 2 to 3 little minute videos in the beginning. Even though I'm standing there live in class, if they need to watch it over again, they can. They like kind of working at their own pace. If they're absent, they never miss anything. But then I work a lot with my team. And so, what are you getting ready to do? How can we use this, with social studies? We've used If Then Adventures with social studies and things like that. When they were talking about Egypt, they made an If Then Adventure about the different governments. In Asia, we've done Plan an Event, like you were talking about, Chris. They incorporate that with Genius Hour. So right before we get ready to introduce Genius Hour, we go through the Plan an Event and kind of send them out, send these 7th graders out going, all right, you've got the knowledge. Now go help train your fellow classmates. And that's worked really well. But again, I know my situation's a little bit more unique because I have one dedicated class.
But at the same time, it sounds like you're working to help activate your other teachers across the school. And I think that's kind of, I have a follow-up question on that in a moment, but that's how you are able to accomplish this. One of the things that I've seen is that teachers are like, oh, I have to do everything. I'm like, no, you use the things that are going to work well in your classroom or your content area. You don't have to stretch everything to fit every single thing. But if you worked across multiple departments, you could utilize this. Mm-hmm. You could have access to this and utilize this in lots of different ways across lots of different content areas. Right. Who else would like to answer my original question?
So we use it on Wednesdays or like our test days when we have access. So we're not one-to-one. So we share a Chrome cart at our grade level. So it's like Hunger Games, who can get to the cart, I mean, we sign up, we use Google Calendar, but sometimes it's like, oh, so-and-so is not using it, I'm going to go grab it. But I try to at least carve out 30 minutes a week, if not more, especially on our modified days, which are on Wednesdays, like today, when our schedule is a little shorter. So we're not a full day, and I can really squeeze in that 30 minutes. My kids are really excited because next week is our parent-teacher conference week. And so every day is modified will be done at 1 o'clock. So they're like, that means we can be on AppSki, we can be doing this, because they know on modified days is when we are using applied digital skills. So because all next week is modified, they were like, the other teachers aren't going to use it. So in the beginning of the year, I tried to carve out at least 10 to 15 minutes so they get the hang of logging on and, finding it. Where is it? We use Clever, so that's really nice. Everything is there for them. And then as the year goes on, I try to devote at least 30 minutes once a week, if not more.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah, I haven't had the opportunity to teach a particular course or class that is just based on applied digital skills. But in my current circumstance, for the first time in my career, I'm starting all over again. So in doing so, I'm rethinking skills and knowledge. The knowledge is my content, but skills that my students will help my students to be productive in the work world, not just in education. Or what the applied digital skills do. And maybe that's a little highfalutin, a little out there, but honestly, skills and knowledge are two different things. In geography, I do a lot with math skills, but I find that the curation or creation of content, rather than just the consuming of content, is really where it's at for my students right now. So I'm excited to move forward and adopt these strategies in a normal classroom workflow rather than what I have set aside.
All right, excellent. I had a question come up in the chat, and I know the answer to it, but maybe there's something in the works. So Shirley asked, is there a place for the teachers to share lessons that have been modified specifically for science, social studies, math, and ELA? I know the answer is not yet, but it seems like it would be a really great resource. But it could just be a Google folder too, a Drive folder that people contribute to.
Can you repeat one more time, Chris, is it about specialized or just where teachers can share?
Yeah, Shirley wanted to know if there's a place for teachers to share if they've modified lessons.
Yeah, right now we don't have that, but we have gotten a few requests, and so we'll take that into consideration and try to see where we might be able to do that.
Yeah, if I know anything about how Google works, you look at the data. It's, how many people are asking for it, and if people are asking for it, then eventually they'll devote resources to making something happen.
Definitely encourage you to share, with any professional groups that you have, or, teachers who work in your area that are outside of your school, certainly set up a folder and share amongst yourselves, or, that's the one great part about Google Docs and Google Apps is that sharing is super easy and you can collaborate on things really easily too. So definitely share among the people that you know and at professional development workshops, and yeah, we'll work on that.
Sounds good. And then the last question that I have, Amanda, it sounds like you have already done this. So have you been able to get any colleagues using applied digital skills at your school? A lot of times we work in our own little silos and work in our classrooms. And I was really guilty of doing that because I like to incubate and test and then eventually hassle the rest of my colleagues. Like, you should do this, you should do this. But what's nice about this is that, I don't have to. I could find a co-teacher and just dive right in. But, Micah or Rosalinda or even Amanda, have you gotten anyone else to kind of join that ride with you?
So
yeah, no, Ro, it's your turn.
Are you sure? So you put up my little tech fairy symbol, and so I'm Ro and then Mo. So Michelle teaches right next door to me. And when I started using this back in April, I kept going over to her and I'm like, you need to try this. You need to do this. And this year we're on 2 separate grade levels, but we only have a wall still separating us. And so it's nice to be able to share with our other colleagues, especially the kids I had last year who are now in other classrooms. They're now telling their teachers, oh, are we going to do this or are we going to do that? I have some teachers who have reached out to me who have said, can you tell us more about this?
Okay.
So Mo is always the one who, or vice versa, we get each other to do things with technology. So I've definitely been able to get her to do it as well with her class.
Yeah, it's nice to have that partner who's willing to fail with you and try something new and kind of work through it, you know, in a codependent kind of way.
Yeah, it's all about relationships, and that's kind of been my strategy with my grassroots efforts to bring positive change with technology. I have teachers who'll stop in and say, "Whoa, what are you doing with kids?" And it's serendipitous conversations, and I'm prepared because I've been doing it in my classroom. And so those faculty room conversations, or somebody's popping in your room. I had a teacher who had a PowerPoint presentation that she was a Spanish teacher, and the PowerPoint presentation was 60 slides long, and she was wondering how to do it on Google Slides. And basically the entire thing was an if-then adventure story for a language other than English class. And I said, the kids now have the skills. They can build that for you. You know, make your upperclassmen make it for the lowerclassmen as an activity. And that's the reason I can have that conversation, is because I just did it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So I can say that my colleagues are very much, you know, into cross-curricular activities now, but they definitely at the beginning of last year had all right, go ahead, Alford, you try it out. Let's see how it works. Like, kind of step back and tried to see how successful is it going to be, how unsuccessful it was going to be. They're like, if you can swim, we'll go for it. But if you sink, we're just going to step back and, you know, kind of check it out. But one of the positive things here is the middle school here is all Google. We are a completely Google school. So all of the teachers are using Google Docs, Google Slides, Google Sheets. And so they kind of just wanted to, you know, curiosity of, well, how can this be used in my class? So that's kind of where we started figuring out. And by second semester last year, we were like, all right, let's start having me plan applied digital skills to other teachers' curriculums of lesson plans of when are you going to teach, you know, when are you going to do Genius Hour? When are you going to do your if-then adventures? When are we talking about percentages? And we can do, you know, plan and budget and kind of correlating and working together. And that's been a lot of success. But yeah, they definitely were skeptical at first because it was so new. And I'm always the one who, we kind of joke as like, I'm the one who'll just jump right in the water, not even knowing if I can swim or with a life raft. I'm just like, yeah, let's do it. And they know that that's my personality. So when I'm like, hey, guess what? I found this new curriculum. They're like, all right, Alford, go ahead and try it. We'll see how this goes. And so now they're really excited because it can be modified, like Ivy was saying. So you can choose just specific units. You don't have to do the entire unit. You can just do a certain activity in it. You know, it can be modified to exactly what they need, the rubrics. And so now everybody's all for it. But it was kind of that, you know, letting, you know, slow build of, is it going to work? How's it going to work? I want to see it. But then seeing the students' enthusiasm, like when they're coming in talking about, you know, how cool, you know, their if-then adventures are. And the language arts teachers looking at me going, how did you get them to write? I've been trying for months. And you just got a kid to pump out 27 slides. And I'm like, I let him write about basketball in Fortnite. And I was like, and he's sharing it with her going, look, I did it. How awesome is this? Share it with the whole class. I want everybody to do my if-then adventure. And she was like, all right, I'm sold. Like when they're that excited,
yeah,
it helps.
All right. So the final question is, you know, where should teachers get started? I pulled up a slide here. If you click on the EdTechTeam slide leaf in your chat, let's see if it's there. It should be hi. So getting started with applied digital skills. Easiest way is to just go to applied digital skills, do a Google search, or go to edtech.team/digital skills. and that will actually get you to the landing page. There are some great resources for getting started, and those are specifically under the Teachers tab. And let me transition my screen share 1 second here and go to Applied Digital Skills. They had a really great you guys had a really great back to school kit that you've now moved under Teachers, I believe. So a lot of the early, let's see, the resource kit. So Applied Digital Skills Teacher Resource Kit. And there are some great resources for getting started. There's printables that you can print off with a quick start guide to get started. Suggested starter lessons, which I won't, in the interest of time in our panel, I won't go into. But there's a lot of great little starter activity ideas. And I think our panel here showed some great ideas of where to start. I see a lot of use of the if-then adventure stories as a great intro. The other could be, even one of the Google Forms, using creating a quiz in Google Forms and just pivoting it to using it for data collection. Just a quick, easy pivot. Quick start guides, one-page handouts, classroom posters. There's just some fantastic resources. And then the other piece of it, we skip that. We worked with the Applied Digital Skills team to create some short mini email courses. And these email courses are specifically built around integrating them into different areas. So math, language or English classroom, science, social studies, upper elementary, and then supports for second language learners. So an example is Monica Willis has her course on using digital skills to enhance the lessons. Amanda here designed a great one for integrating it into the science classroom. So we appreciate that. So we encourage you to check that out. All of these are linked under the resources on our slide deck, which I'll pull back up that URL in just a moment. Natalia Lemoyne, customizing applied digital skills lessons for English language learners, really perfect, especially with all the captioning and the design for universal design for learning that is built into these lessons. They're fantastic for additional supports. Row with our customizing applied digital skills lessons for upper elementary students. And all of these are just 5-day email courses. So you just sign up and you get an email in your inbox every single day with a tip and resources on getting started in the classroom. And then we also have our Micah, Mr. Micah Shippey, PhD, with customizing for the social studies classroom. And I didn't show it here, but there's a math one developed by Brendan Brennan, a recovering math teacher, as he likes to talk about himself. One thing, if you haven't already done it, we have the Applied Digital Skills Week challenges that have been going on. So for the next couple of days, we'll still continue to run those challenges. So be sure to check that out. And if you go to the link there on sign up, let me see if I can click that. It'll take you to a page where you can sign up for the challenges. And that's listed on the EdTechTeam website. And then every day there's a challenge and chances to win a $25 Amazon gift card to help buy some supplies for your classroom. So share it with your co-teachers or anyone else, or keep it close to yourself if you want to win that prize. But we encourage you to share and share broadly. Once again, the resources are at edtech.team/APSCII October 10, Oct 10. So I've got that up there. Micah, will you pop that link URL into the chat again? You did such a great job with that earlier, and I appreciate that. The session resources connected to the slide deck, we have the webinar link. So if you wanted to share it with other teachers who were unable to make it today, there's also links to the prior webinars that have been completed that kind of highlight some of the things that teachers are doing in the classroom, specifically one from Rosalinda that was fantastic. Great conversation with her and her partner, Michelle Osinski. So fantastic there. And then we're going to do some prizes now. So are you guys ready for prizes? So what you need to do is you need to complete the form. And let's see, I have submissions, but I can use some more. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to pick names. No, I have more. I have a bunch of submissions here. And if I'm starting to talk funny, I think I just hit the wall of my jet lag. There's always a time when you hit jet lag. So drum roll. Let's see here. I've got names. I'm going to draw. All right. So the first winner of an online course from the EdTechTeam catalog will be Emily McDonald. So Emily, you will receive an email from me. We have your contact information. We'll introduce you to our online team who will give you the information on picking an online course. I'm going to give away one more online course. And that's going to go to Amy DeFries. I think I pronounced that correctly. So Amy, you're going to be contacted by me. So I appreciate that. And so look for an email from me a little bit later. And then now 2 Amazon gift cards. We're going to give one to each winner. Elizabeth Levine, you're going to win a $25 Amazon gift card. So look for a message from myself. And let's see here. One more second. And our last winner of a gift card is Shirley McDonald. All right, Shirley, you're our final winner for today. So look for a message from me and we'll send you that digital $25 Amazon gift card. Last things last, make sure you stay connected to EdTechTeam. Make sure you check out those resources for the session. Our follow-up, you have our link to the archive for today's webinar. Please share that with some colleagues who may be interested in learning more about this program. We have archives on the channel of the Applied Digital Skills webinars. And we encourage you to share everything on social, do the daily challenges, and just get connected. There's a lot of great things happening, as you can see from just a few of the teachers that joined us today. There are lots of ways that we can use this in our classroom to really empower our students to do great things. Any final comments from our panel? No? What was it? Did I miss something, Micah?
No, I was saying go get them. Like, go forth.
Go forth and do great things. Excellent.
That's all I got.
All right, excellent. Anything else? Anybody else? Thank you, Ivy, for taking the time out of your schedule to join us this evening. I know it's late for everybody on the East Coast. Thank you for everybody that joined us on the YouTube Live. Thank you for taking time to do things for your students like this. And that's all I have today. Anything else? Any final sign-offs? All right, there's 2 more days left in Applied Digital Skills Week. So make sure that you check in, complete the challenges, and we'd love to hear from you. All right, have a great day. There we go, stop broadcast.